Brunners. What's going on, Miami Valley? I'm Gary.
And I'm Andrew.
And we are with Brunner's Lawn and Services. And today we got your Brunner's Bits. And Andy, we're going to talk about the importance of watering your plants when it gets hot in the summertime. So, all right, let's start with maintaining a lush and vibrant landscape can be daunting for any new homeowner or property manager. That's why one of the critical factors in ensuring the health of your landscape and your plants is watering. Without why are you laughing? You're ruining my monologue.
I'm sorry. You're just being very energetic.
Without adequate hydration, your greenery will become wilted or brown or dead. So in this video, we're going to discuss watering, best practices, and creating a schedule. How's that sound, Andy?
That sounds good to me.
Does it sound good to you all out there in video land?
Internet land.
The two people that watch, that's me and somebody else typically clicks.
Hasten.
I just scratched my nose. All right, so let's jump right in. Watering's really important, especially as the summer months come in, gets hot. People make mistakes with watering, or over and under.
So you beat me to it.
So I'm going to start off with why is watering important?
I mean, plants are living things, so
I mean, I
like water.
You would think it's common sense. Plants are living things.
I put in ground. Why it not grow?
Yeah, right. So I don't know how many people out there actually pay attention to like horticulture and things like that, but like fungus, for instance, fungus has root systems that stretch miles and miles and miles and miles. A lot of people out there firmly believe that plants can talk to each other.
It's like the movie Avatar.
Yeah, right. Woo. I personally do believe that there is a relationship between human beings, animals, the Mother Earth, plants, and all of that. So if we as humans or our animals need water, why would we think that our plants,
I mean, if they're thirsty too,
don't need water, right? There are some plants that don't require a lot of water. Lavender, wildflowers like coneflowers, echinaceas, the meadow sages, stone crop.
very drought resistant.
Yeah.
They'd still like water though.
They do.
They just don't need as much of it.
We have some properties that have like some meadow sage, don't we?
We have that, and we have properties that have cactus all over it.
I don't see a lot of the stone crop sedums.
They're here and there in entry features and the corners of people's property, but no, it's not as prevalent.
Yeah.
I saw a lot more of it when we were down in Cincinnati than we do here in the Kettering Center.
I do agree. When we used to take care of the Episcopal retirement communities down there
was a lot of it. Trash cans full.
I think it depends on the architect that actually designs the prints and
they had a lot of elderly people there that gardened, and they were digging stuff up and transplanting it under their windows, and it spreads easily. So
I feel like I'm slouching drastically. Excuse me, everyone. I'm going to adjust myself for a second.
Your pillow. It's like chess. You adjust on the point. Adjust.
Now I feel much better. I feel better.
More better.
There are plants that don't require a lot of water, there are some plants that absolutely require lots of water, like ferns, irises.
I mean, there's a lot of things that love shade and love water. So, I mean, knowing what you got in your garden and what you're spraying and not just soaking everything, like blanket watering. I mean, and if you know what you got in there, then that's okay. But
that brings to a point. So when you're planting, plant things, group them together. Things that like water, things that don't like water.
I mean, unless you got all the time in the world to, intentionally go out there and water this once a week and that once every month, depending on what it is,
Unfortunately, for a lot of the types of properties that we care for, like the HOAs and things like that, the industrial parks, there's nobody out there watering.
No, we're just strictly hoping that Mother Nature takes care of it.
that's one of the problems that we run into. So we probably should look at getting a water truck, because I do find that with some of the new landscapes that we put in, one of the things they request, temporary irrigation, or how are you going to water this? And a lot of times we have to propose some irrigation stuff, and then it becomes too expensive. Or if we just had a watering truck, we could build it into our proposals.
I'm not going to complain about a new toy.
Or just a tank. Josh was talking about, so for everyone out there, Josh is the Brunner behind Brunner's.
We'll drag him on here eventually.
Eventually we'll get him.
This winter.
Probably, maybe. He'll squirrel out. But Josh was talking about just getting a pump, things like that, because we have those big
totes.
Good ideas. But one of my favorite plants, though, that require lots of water, and the ones that we have at our house are struggling right now, is my Arcana lilies are struggling to come up, which is weird because we've had a lot of rain. I'm almost wondering if something's eating it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, it depends on, you're up in those garden boxes. It could maybe real sandy soil and draining.
We also have a lot of cats. I'm not a fan of the feline.
Well,
but last year our neighbors had a group of little pussy cats that were born, and now they're not little pussy cats anymore. They're big pussy cats. Luckily, the neighbor on the other side of our house paid and had them all fixed.
Yeah. Well, the city will do that sometimes. But anyway,
we have
seven
of them. I think they're eating my tomato plants.
Maybe. Or squirrels.
Them bastards. All right. So a big thing, though, before we move on to our next topic, watering's important, but we'll go over in the best practices. You do have to make sure you don't under or over water. So that is it on that one. I love watching your eyes when you do that. Don't worry, Anthony, I'll pick it up. My arm I feel like I'm
littering
stuck. But that brings us to our customer service corner. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so today, Andy, we're going to discuss some issues and complaints that we get that are a direct result of new team member training.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, we get a lot of these.
Depending on what we have them doing, we ease people in, and then, you think they're ready to rock and roll, and you send them off into the world. And mist trimming is a big thing, mist blowing off. We have issues where people, we think they have full knowledge of the equipment, and then for, say, a push mower, one of the wheels pops and the back corner of the deck drops, and they're going along, and then you got this nice stripe, and I don't know what happened.
So I got on Haley. I think it was yesterday. We were over at the property by my home, and I drove by, and it's mowed all nice, and there's just a 1 foot by 1 foot swath that was just missed. I was like, is it too close to the pole? No. I walked over. I drove by her. I was like, hey, who mowed over here? She goes, I did. I was like, well, it sucks. She was like, well, what did I do wrong? I was like, you missed a bunch of spots. So, and she's experienced. So if an experienced person is missing something, because let's face it, you see green grass all day. It's not hard to miss something.
We're all human, and we're all different levels of ADD, I think, in our company.
But new team members, they miss mowing. One thing that I find that we have the biggest issue with, and this happened this year out at that Huber Heights property, and it was with the staffing agency person. They break something and don't tell their team leader about it. And that leads me to, it's important to not lead with fear. I fail at this sometimes, because when people are afraid that they'll lose their job, they're not going to be front and honest,
upfront. Yes,
with everything.
Well, yeah, they're afraid. I mean, everybody's, you break something, you're like, oh crud, I'm going to get fired for this. I mean, stuff happens, and unfortunately, a lot of people have unknowns. People like pea gravel, and weed eaters love to throw pea gravel. So windows break. I hate when that happens, but it's easier to take care of and get fixed up quickly if we find out about it quickly.
We had so for you guys, for everyone out there, we had a new team member this year. His Dustin.
Oh,
his
second day of work.
He's been fantastic. His second day of work. $1,500 window?
$1,600 window. Yeah.
I was like, oh no. He ate up nearly half of our property damage budget.
Damage.
But,
the property understood.
Happens. We're human. Mm-hmm. We are.
And things are unforeseen accidents, acts of God, whatever you want to call it, and they happen. We will obviously get everything taken care of as quickly as we can.
A weird customer complaint that we've had before from a new team member, which I hope we never have it again, is clogging up toilets with number 2. So we try to educate our team members that if they use an HOA bathroom, like treat it like you would your grandmother's bathroom.
Right. Take your shoes off. Don't track mud.
Leave it nice and clean. Mm-hmm. And then weed identification. Sometimes team members that are new that aren't trained
think they're
clematis or other plant. What's the plant that you have to go replace that you asked me for?
Oh no, that's Buggle. That was just in a bed on the maintenance team, or the bed maintenance team. They're low lying, and she had just planted them and just I want to say nose blind. That's not the right term anyhow. But like you were saying, you see grass all day. Yep. You get tired, and and it's not something that you see very often. And I have to go replace it now. So it happens.
Patience.
Education.
Everybody gets complaints. The majority of our complaints come from training. Mm-hmm. Let's face it.
And not just training with our guys, it's just educating people that move in that don't know what that looks like a weed. Why is that still there? Well, that's actually supposed to be there.
Yeah. So if you out there are looking for a new landscape grounds maintenance vendor that takes the time to actually train their team members, give Brunner's Lawn and Services a call. You can reach us at 937-681-4859. You can visit our website at www.brunnersltd.com, or you can leave a comment below. All right, let's move on.
You're having too much fun with the headphones.
I can hear myself. So notice though, it impedes me wearing a hat. The headphones impede me wearing a hat.
To do your hair.
All right, so let's move on. So the number 2 topic I have with the watering is I want to go over some watering best practices with everyone. And one of the, I'm not going to say it's a wrong thought, but some people think that they have to water every day. That they have to go out for a half hour, 45 minutes, or as a friend of mine that I used to network with, Al, the realtor, you remember old guy Al? Mm-hmm. He said it's 2 gin and tonics.
That's how long
that's how long it takes to water his garden is 2 gin and tonics.
I've heard things like that.
Yeah, how long does it take to water your garden? 2 gin and tonics.
How long does it take to mow your grass? 7 beers.
Yeah. So, but I think it is assumed that when it's dry that you have to water every day. And you can water every day, but if you water every day, you don't want to go crazy, because really plants should only, if it's dry season, you should only really water 1 inch to 1.5 inches of water per week.
Right.
And if you are holding
20 to 30 minutes every other day or so, depending on what you're watering and when newer stuff is going to need water more often, its root system isn't developed, less water more often, and larger things that have a better reach and can get down into the soil a little bit farther.
So I fail and I do as I say, not as I do. I don't have a lot of time in the morning.
Forget about it.
No, like you're technically not supposed to water like at night.
Root rot
or during the heat of the day.
Well, yeah, that you get scorch marks and other things.
I'm really bad. I water about 6, 7 o'clock every day because that's the only time I have to water. So I water every day, though. I don't water more than 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, that's give it enough juice to feed. Its roots.
I mean, watering in the morning, just in the heat, the heat makes water evaporate faster. So, it's gives it moisture throughout the day as that evaporates, but just depends on what you're watering, the soil types you got.
Yeah. So I think one of the reasons that they say you don't want to water at night is because of the fungus, the diseases, because technically you want to water. And the reason I do 6 o'clock, and this is a best practice, is since I do have to water in the evening, I give it enough time for that top layer.
You want some time to evaporate before night and cool temperatures set in. You need my glasses?
I'm getting old, man.
Who are you talking to? I'm blind as a bat.
So as far as our annuals at home, I water them about the same time too, but I notice that when I water, so I guess technically I'm doing a unintentional experiment. So the annuals that we have at the shop that I planted out front, I water them in the morning because I have time. Because I'm at the shop, they're doing wonderful. The annuals we planted at home, I don't have time to water in the morning. I water them in the evening, and some of them are struggling.
Well, where did you plant them at your house?
They're in the heat.
So, and they're probably out in the yard, which is more clay.
They're up next to. So some of them are up next to the house. My wife's like raised flower bed. Yeah.
Are those doing better than the other ones?
No. No. My tomatoes are struggling, and I think that's because of the animals. I have a feeling that I may not be able to actually garden unless I can figure something out. But anyways, tangent. Let's get back on the
Left
road.
turn at Albuquerque.
So best practices, folks, is you want to inch to an inch and a half of water per week during the dry season. If we're getting rain, you don't necessarily have to water. I mean, let the plant tell you. Go out and feel the soil.
Yep.
Make sure that if you do water, you make that you're not overwatering, like we said before.
You want to think about whether or not you're in complete full sun 24 hours, 12 hours or whatever it is a day, 24 hours a day. But, you have no shade, or if you have a lot of shade, a lot of tree canopy covering you, that's going to affect the amount of water that you're actually needing due to the evaporation and heat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And if you've planted trees, you can buy things like gator bags. You fill them up. It's a 5-gallon bag. It feeds the trees. Make sure that you pay attention to what type of tree you're putting it around, because some trees don't want crazy amounts of water. So, but that's some best practices. You just pay attention to the soils, to the amount of water we're getting, the amount of rainfall, and don't.
And we live in a lovely age of technology where you can Google Lens a lot of things and go, "What's that plant?" And the cell phone will tell you, and you can look it up and learn about it.
Yep, that's right. So let's move on. So our last topic is we talked about the importance of watering, a couple best practices. So let's talk about coming up with a watering schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like I said before, it's better to water in the morning. If you're crazy about your garden, and that is like one of the number one things in your life, your grass, your garden, put it in your calendar.
I live by Google Calendar.
Or maybe you want to get an irrigation system at that point to where you can set a timer and it just does it itself. They have irrigation systems that you can run it off of just your little hose bib and put a little timer on, and it's above ground. It's not a permanent system.
It's something you can pull up and put in the garage and shed for next season.
Exactly. If you want a permanent irrigation system, but you're like, well, what if we're getting a bunch of rain? I don't want to waste water. Well, they have little rain droppers on there. They have little sensors, like you just said. It's not going to just irrigate if it doesn't need irrigated. You like that?
Irrigated.
So if we're in a really dry time, you want to make sure that, like, if you go out of town, that you get somebody to come out and water.
Please, neighbor,
for you.
water my stuff.
Water my stuff. You can get seeper hoses.
Yep.
Set them on a calendar.
You don't run the risk of burn from the sun. It's watering below the foliage of the plant.
And there's some scenarios where you just put the seeper hose in permanently, cover it up with mulch, disconnect it in the wintertime, and you can either take it up, roll it up, put it away, or
the downside to some of those seeper hoses, they do deteriorate like everything, everything.
Over time.
Yeah, they can get brittle and break.
And so do the cheap timers. I mean, don't let us fool you when we say, oh, you can go get temporary timers. They do.
Anything that sits out in the sun and has water running through it all the time is going to break down.
The permanent irrigation systems have a box. They're closed. The
longevity is much, much higher.
But they still thousands upon thousands of dollars
when things are broken or someone plants something and runs it. Yeah.
And they require experts.
Yes.
But yeah, consider drip lines, consider timers, consider a temporary system, consider a permanent system.
Consider bribing your neighbor with beer.
Consider bribing me with beer. Nonetheless, if watering is important, you need to schedule it. You need to put it in your calendar. You need to figure out, do I need to water Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday? Do I need to water Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday? Do I need to do,
Pick one.
Or 3.
Or 5.
Or 10. There's 10 days in a 7-day week.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
All right. So I guess since we're talking nonsense, I guess it's time to conclude this. So yeah, folks, watering's important. Proper watering for your landscaping. It doesn't take rocket science. You gotta, if it's thirsty, give it some hydration. We talked about its importance. We talked about some best practices and putting it on a schedule.
Yep.
Right, Andy?
I think we covered the basics.
I think we covered the basics. And if you have questions, you can call us 937-681-4859.
That was very less enthusiasm than you began with.
937-681. There you go.
Very good.
All right.
On that note.
All right. Thanks for watching. And at Brunner's Lawn and Services, what matters, Andy?
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction really matters. All right. Be cool. We're out.